Yeah, I don't know if you guys can hear me. I'm trying to log into Facebook, so Facebook page. It's
It shows live on Facebook on our feed right
all right. I hope you're right.
now.
We were off mute too, by the way. I'm sure you can
I
tell.
heard that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tell if you want us to go back on.
For now, yeah. Just probably
Okay.
get this set up, just so we're in touch. This is the first time I'm doing this from Zoom, so I'm just a little not sure why it's not appearing on Sikh Dharma's Facebook page. Crap. Okay, let's try that all again. Let's see. So from Zoom, I go to, it says live streaming.
We can try to check on our end too.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Oh, well, it says it's live. I mean, it shows it's live. So, okay,
Yeah.
we are good to go. Even though it's paused, but that's fine. We will hope
Can
for the
you-
best. All right, so those of you who are joining us on Facebook, I am so delighted to welcome you to the first episode of our program Home, Kirtan, and Chat. And I'm especially happy to be able to welcome our first guests. And the guests are Satpurkh Kaur, who I'm sure many of you know from her many wonderful recordings, and her husband, Abhiraj Singh. They are joining us from their home. Where is your home now these days?
We live in Dublin, New Hampshire. Yeah.
Dublin. Oh, it
Yeah.
sounds like a little further away in Ireland, but I guess not. All
Yeah,
right. Well,
I can see you on Facebook, Britball, so we're good.
yeah, I think we're good. I
Yeah.
think we are. So, again, I want to welcome the two of you. And the point or the focus of these programs is to have a little music, which will be great for all of our Sangha, and then talk a little bit about that music and anything else going on, around that and around the COVID-19 and isolation and how the music you chose has a particular meaning for you. So those in the audience, maybe you saw in the promotion that Satpurkh and Abhiraj are going to be singing the Shabad Dite Sabe Tav. But from speaking with Satpurkh earlier, I understand that she's also combining in a song that she wrote that was inspired by those words and maybe other things too. But just so you know, it's not a direct translation. It's more about just similar feelings and putting them together. So whenever you'd like to start, Satpurkh and Abhiraj, it'd be great to hear you.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Dite Sabeta, Hai Durjaya. Dite Sabeta, Hai Durjaya. Dite Sabeta, Hai Durjaya. Gite sabeta, gite sabeta, hai turjaya.
I've seen all the places, none compared to yours. I've seen all the places,
None compared to yours.
in the city of God, there's only love.
Wow, that was beautiful.
Vaiguruji ka Khalsa. Vaiguruji ki Fateh.
Yeah, so now tell me the truth. Did you just create that song for this recording, this interview?
No. It's on the album City of God. It's the eponymous
Oh,
song
okay.
from that new album.
My bad for not knowing that, but yeah, it was very nice.
Thank you.
So some of you may know a little bit about this Shabad, but in the Shabad it talks about Ramdas Pur, and um, and it's beautiful the way that the song that you wrote talks about City of God. So Ramdaspur is literally the place of Ramdas, but by extension, you can say that that means, you know, the abode of God, or that place where the divine dwells. And so the way you interwove that concept into your song was beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think that's a big part of how, at least I relate to it. Is I think of you know, those, that phrase you find a lot in the Sri Guru Granth, where, you know, running in the 10 directions here and there, everywhere, trying to find the divine. And to me, it's like returning to ourself and returning to our inner state of divinity and going to a deeper state and relating to. That's where I feel like I find the city of God, is an internal meditative state. And this Ditte Sabatav, just about any Shabbat actually, this one especially seems to pull me into that state. Pulls
In
me
other
into
words, we had you in Ek.
yeah,
That's right. That's
yeah,
right.
you could say that.
We
Yeah.
actually we first spent a lot of time with this Shabad with Prabhu Namkar, Sanat's mother, and we still listen to her version a lot. It's
Pretty much every
quite-
day.
Quite beautiful.
Wait.
So we kind of did a deep dive with her in this particular Shabbat, and then I came home and I always want to kind of write my own version because I'm like that. And as I was working on it, I remembered this song that I had written for my father's funeral, City of God. And I thought the concepts are so resonant. I wonder if they would work together. And so it was something that I'd sort of already, I'm always trying in my own path of Sikhi to integrate my past and somehow resolve it. And so, this notion of heaven, which I've never really believed in, is this city of God. And so for me, the Sikhi, the understanding that Ramdas Pur and the place of no hunger, the place of no tear, already exists here on earth when we're in Sangat, when we're with each other. And the entire album that this song is on is dedicated to kind of the beauty and the mystery of Mother Earth and her healing. And so this kind of city of God as a metaphor for Mother Earth and for ourselves as spirit animals walking this planet, sharing the opportunity to create this heaven on earth.
Yeah, it's we live in this beautiful part of the country in New Hampshire, southern New Hampshire, and we're surrounded with these brooks and forests. We go about every day. We go out for a walk, take the dogs out for a walk. It'll be along some beautiful stream, the Nubanuset or the Brush Brook
Brushbrook.
is right by our house, and we can go for a 2 3 mile walk in these just beautiful forests. And I feel like when we do that, we're in the city of God right there. We are in Ramdaspur as we walk around. It's just pristine, clear water, and gigantic evergreens, and yeah, it's just beautiful around here.
Yeah, I hope your story isn't breaking the hearts of all people who are in urban situations under lockdown and can't go out. But I hear you. And similar here in Espanola, we have lots of places where we can walk where there's no one around and
Yeah.
also experience that feeling. So when I came to you and asked you about doing this program, do you think that this Shabbat was in some way perhaps resounding somewhere in your consciousness anyway, just because of what we're all going through with COVID-19?
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like COVID-19 in some ways is the Mother Earth saying, hey, Rahau, pause. Give me a chance to heal myself, because we all innately have the wisdom to heal ourselves, and Mother Earth is a living frequency as well that has that same capacity, if not greater capacity, of course. And so I think this song came into our minds when you asked us, because it's in our minds a lot. We chanted a lot, but also it was core to this idea of the earth healing herself. And I mean, we've done a lot of different Shabbads. We did practice the practice with 3HO
That's Fredo.
earlier last year
No.
to heal Mother Earth, and so a lot of our sound current is that prayer through the vibration that we can all heal together. And I think this COVID-19 is sort of that pause that we all needed to understand what was really important. And I know for people who jobs are at risk and whose livelihood and whose rent and all those kind of day-to-day stressors doesn't make this a rest for them, I do keep that in mind, because we're both in a very privileged position to have his stable job and be able to do our work from home and not have those effects. But I do think the greater story is that we all are getting a chance to reevaluate what's really important.
Yeah, I did a bit of that.
Go ahead, Abhiraj.
I was just going to say, I echo that. I think it's a real resetting that we're going through right now, and it's very, very challenging for so many folks. It's just you hear about the long lines down in San Antonio for food bank, and just the trauma going in the New York hospitals. Just, and to me, the Ditte Savata, the whole Shabbat Guru in general is like making sure we take time to do those things that are essentially important, that are really core to our happiness. And to me, that's being, in Sangit, it's having good health and doing what we can to do that. And I think this period with COVID-19, it's like, it brings in a stark relief when we don't have those things available to us. Yeah.
So I want to take a little pause in our discussion here to invite people listening to go ahead and post in the comments if you have any questions you'd like us to talk about, for Purkh and Abhiraj to talk about. I see that we have Marianne from Oslo, Norway, Sundari, Guru Sahai, Ravinder, Siridyal, Guru Amrit, Michelle, Talvinder Singh, and Omkar, and Kiran Deep, and um, we have Gulzan from North Carolina. So any of you that are listening right now during the live portion of this would like to post a question, feel free to go ahead and do that. We'll just keep talking for a little bit longer about the Shabad. You know, I played the Shabad many times as well, and for me it was always about connecting to the Hari Mandir Sahib, the Golden Temple in Amritsar. Very much in that moment of singing those lines, for me it was very much feeling that timeless and beyond space connection, to feel like I was right there, you know, at the Hari Mandir. And pretty amazing that we can have that experience just by connecting through sound, you know, and that these words were written by Guru Arjan in praise of and recognition of his guru and his father, Guru Ram Das. It speaks on so many levels to me that are very intimate. You know, this Shabad. It's such a short, little, sweet Shabad, and yet from the first time I heard it, I think I have resonated with it. You know, connected to it. Is that kind of the way that you guys found your way to it?
Yeah, it's just a beautiful, it speaks to, like, you know, kind of relate to what I said earlier, is about, you know, we can go here, we can go there, we can go everywhere, but you know when you're home. You know where your home is, or it seems that this Shabad is recognizing, I know where I'm home. I've gone to all these beautiful places,
That's
none
right.
compare to yours.
Mhm.
And it's just, to me, it's just like a beautiful reminder of that. And it's like, there's so much truth in it to me. It's like I can go out here and there. I can go to Disneyland. I can go to Taco Bell and get me you know, a burrito. I can go out, you know, I can go anywhere. I can go this here and there and everywhere. When we know when we're home, for me, it's when I'm in deep meditation or in the splendor of the natural world. I think everyone has their own place, and they, you know, or to me, that's the essential part of being human, is to find that place and dwell in it, and to recognize it, and to honor it, you know, deeply.
Purkh, you know, I know that your background with music started when you were pretty young.
Hmm.
What was the first experience you had singing in public?
I grew up in what's called low church, like a cappella, four-part harmony, um, Protestant church.
Hmm. So
And the,
not shape notes, but
yeah, we did shape
oh really?
note.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Um, and my first time singing in public was at funerals,
Ah,
because that's what we did. You know, we helped sing in funerals, my family, and I think I sang at a wedding when I was quite young, 10 or 11 as well. Um, and then in college, I was in a performance choir that traveled and sang again in that same tradition.
when was
And
the
then
first time you wrote some music?
my parents gave me, I was always a poet from the time I was young, but my parents gave me a guitar when I was 23, I think. And I took my first guitar lesson, and I went home and wrote my first song that night with the three chords I learned. And I haven't learned that many new chords since then.
Three chords can take you a long way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I get by with about five, so.
Uh, we used
Are
to have a
there?
sadhana. We used to have one of our sadhana set of sadhana chants. We call it the Lou Reed sadhana,
Ah,
because all the songs that we did in there were like two chords, three was pushing it. We never did anything more complicated than that. And so it was a little bit of a nod to Lou Reed because he had a saying like two chords is fine, but three chords you're getting into jazz there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chords plenty. Two chords is great. Three chords is jazz.
Yeah.
So, what was your first chant that you wrote?
Hmm. Uh, in this tradition, it was the first song that I remember writing of any import was the actually the song that most people know, the Mane Poris, Mane
Mhm.
Ki Gat Kahinajai. It's maybe not the first song I ever wrote, but it's the first song I remember writing in this tradition.
Yeah, it's
Um,
beautiful, beautiful melody.
yeah, and I did Vedic, Bhavan chants before this tradition, so I'm sure I wrote some in that space, but I don't remember any of them because it's been so long, 20 years ago.
So, speaking of other influences, sitting next to you is another influence in your life and in your music. Abhay Raj, longtime practitioner of Kriya Yoga, um,
Yes.
in the line of Paramahansa Yogananda.
Yogananda. Yes.
So,
Yeah.
Swami, I should say, Swami Paramahansa Yogananda.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, how has that sort of stream of practice and philosophy, if you like, sort of blended into your music together?
Yeah, it's interesting that so I was practicing, I was a very diligent student when I learned to meditate. I, stuck with it and it took about 6 or 7 months before I feel like I got really some results from that meditation technique. And once I did start to get it, it was really beautiful. I didn't really have any, I was, had some friends that did some chanting every now and then, some Vedic chanting. And someone told me about Satnam Fest. And I thought, well, I'll go to that and check that out. It's in some more yoga. And I was just blown away by the sound to the point where I said, I've got to investigate this more. And there's something about, I think that all that meditation I did of getting myself really deep and develop that technique and the practice and the discipline of it, it's kind of laid a groundwork to where once I started to really tune into the sound, and I had experiences that were just, I was just so, I'm sure you can relate, Paul, where I like, why isn't this taught to everybody when they're little kids? This is important. This is like a whole new reality. I felt like I was Dorothy in the Wizard of Oz, where everything goes from black and white to Technicolor. It
Yeah,
was just an amazing experience to me.
I
And
I remember that moment for myself too. That's great. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I was like, oh, I got to find out more about this sound current in Kundalini Yoga. And come to find out, in Kundalini Yoga, the sound is a vital part of the practice.
Mhm.
It's a huge piece of the practice. And then on top of that, so that was nice. And then on top of that, to learn about Shabad Guru. Oh my God, that just takes it up another whole level. It's just amazing to me. So it's like it's a never-ending delight to being married to Purkh. I kind of feel like I get to just kind of ride the coattails, and in terms of her powerful voice and her composition and so forth. I get to learn about a half dozen chords and follow along, and then chime in when I can,
Well,
and just be immersed in it.
your telling of the story I can see is from a very humble position. I'm just wondering whether Satpuruk has a little different take on the combination of these two streams of practice and consciousness coming together.
Well, I mean, I've never. He's taught me the Kriya from that tradition, and I've practiced it a few times.
Mhm.
I think what it brings to our dynamic is he has this incredible capacity for bliss,
Mhm.
which in which I experienced through the practice of Shabad, but in our tradition of Kundalini yoga, necessarily, it's not something we really focus on, you know, like, oh, let's bliss out in our meditation. Like, hardly any of us feel bliss when we meditate, you know, and so it's just such a different frequency. It brings this sweetness and this kind of immediacy of ecstasy, because he can drop into that space, meditative space of bliss so easily because he's practiced for so long. And then I drop into it through the sound, and we kind of ride that current together. And ultimately, it's been very humbling for me, because he doesn't really care how I sound. and, and he,
Don't say anything, Abhai.
Yeah, I know.
you know, it's very, he could care less about, you know, how good a singer I am. It's really just about the practice. And so it's been quite humbling in the dynamic that way for me. And so for both of us, it's been a leveler and also an elevator.
Well, I'm sure if he would dare to put words to that, he would say that your voice is a wonderful plus in this whole experience.
It's a total highway right to the divine.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Yeah.
I wonder whether we could take a few minutes before closing, just if there's a smaller portion of that composition that you played earlier that we could just maybe take a chorus for a minute and a half or so, and just sort of remind ourselves of how beautiful that was, if you would be willing to do that.
Sure, we can just sing that Ditte Sabetav line.
That'd be great.
Sabeta Nai Durjaya Ditte Sabeta Nai Durjaya Ditte Sabeta Nai Durjaya Ditte Sabeta Nai Durjaya Sabeta Nai Durjaya Ditte Sabeta Nai Durjaya Ditte Sabeta Nai Durjaya.
I've seen all places.
None compared to yours.
I've seen all places.
None compared to yours.
I have seen all places, but none compares to yours. Yes, Dite Sabetav Nahi Tudjaya. Well, I want to thank our guests, Satpurkh and Abhay Raj Singh, for joining us and sharing this beautiful music and words of wisdom and stories and observations. It's been a great time to talk with you. And I want to thank all of our people who have been listening on Facebook, and let you know that we will be doing this every Friday live at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Next week, my guest will be Madhab Munder Singh, also a prolific recording artist of chant and Gurbani music. So I hope you can join us then. And just another little word, I have another program going on Tuesdays and Thursdays where I'm chanting 11 minutes of Dandan Ram Das Guru, just with the idea of healing. And so if you want to join on Facebook, 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, Tuesdays and Thursdays, I look forward to seeing you then. And to my guests, deep gratitude for your time and your beautiful energy and your deep souls. So thank you so much. Blessings to you, blessings to the listeners. Satnam.
So, thanks, Pritpal.
Waheguru.